I love pizza. Without exception, my pizza is delivered. I mean, seriously though, who likes liver on their pizza?
Welcome to Across the Table, the podcast of Hannibal the Magician.
Welcome back. Welcome back. You know, life is full of highs and lows, and sometimes you got to get out the lows. And I am appreciative of all of those of you who tune in and listen to what I have to say, even if I'm having a bad week, even if I'm kind of dampened down by my nostalgia and all of that. But it's all part of life, right? The highs and the lows, and you ride it out. Someone asked me this past week, doing the seance show, and let me tell you that story in a minute, actually, because I've covered it. I covered it on the YouTube vlog, the time it happened, the night that it happened. I've started a new series on the YouTube channel, basically things that happened, interesting things that happened at the seance show at 13. It's an interesting job. It's an interesting show. And a lot of things happen. And some of them are great and amazing, and some of them, get into that, And I had one of those interesting ones. I had an interesting weekend. Some very tough things came across the table at me. But first of all, just wanted to say hello. Thank you again. You have my gratitude for sticking in and listening once again and being a part of this. This show is entirely sponsored by you. Through your attention, through your telling other people about it, by your likes when you like it on however you listen to my podcast, and for those of you who financially support me on Patreon, patreon.com/magicartist. That's me. If you feel like being a sponsor of this show, love to have you, and I appreciate every penny that comes across towards me. So. I was already feeling kind of down last week, feeling kind of like, man, it's just and for no good reason, because everything seems peachy, but there are times, man, you're in your life and you're living it, and there's sometimes when it's so good that your mind will say, okay, so when's the shoe gonna drop? When are things gonna turn bad? When's your luck gonna run out? You're just fooling people, right? You know that you're not as talented as you think you are. You're not as special as you think you are. And a lot of your friends, a lot of your people that see you, they're just being nice when they tell you that they enjoyed your show or that you did something for them. And I'm going to tell you, I'm reading a book. Oh, man, where did I put it? I am reading a book now on the viewpoint of shamanism. Now, I am not about to wear the horns and the furs and everything else, but I do really love getting the perspective of other points of view, of other people's beliefs and the way they see the world. And there's a lot of insight that comes from doing that. So I am reading this book called The Wisdom of the Shaman by Don Jose Ruiz, Ruiz, and it is fascinating. And he posits in the opening paragraphs of this book that we as human beings have an addiction to sorrow. We have an addiction to strife, that the bad things happen to ourselves and to things around the world, and we have an addiction of saying, oh man, look how bad things are. Isn't life hard? Aren't things really tough? And we have become so addicted to it that we put a lot of our entertainment time, a lot of our ingesting or consuming time into consuming negative things. Everything from the way that national news, international news is put forth these days. I guess it started when I was very young, but I can still recall people coming on telling the news without the emotional aspect of it. Allowing here are the facts. And now, there's so much competition for the entertainment dollar, and the news people have to be exciting. They have to make the news emotional. And it feeds into that craving that we have for strife, for struggle. We are addicted to struggle. Struggle is going to happen anyway. Struggle is that's a natural part of life. But we seem to be piling it onto ourselves. And I learned a long time ago, and I have to teach myself this lesson again and again. I'm not saying it's something I have to learn and relearn, is that there comes a time you just have to turn it over to your higher power. You have to turn to God and say, this is yours. I need relief. I need your help. And, the universe and God and it is there for your relief. You are set on a path, and the obstacles are going to be there, and they are there to build you stronger. I saw a meme last week that said, I asked for strength, so God gave me the struggle. Because that's how you do it. You build your muscles by exercising them, by pushing them to the point, and making them stronger. And it's the same with your spiritual growth, and it is the same with your emotional growth, and living life and just taking that extra step forward. So all of that to say, I was low, and I am not low today, but I might be low tomorrow. But I keep walking. I keep putting my shoes on, and I keep stepping into the path that has been set in front of me, around or through the obstacles that the Lord has decided to put into my life, and being honest about who I am, what I believe, how I have slipped, how I have royally screwed things up, and yet kept on going, understanding we're human and we make the mistakes, and sometimes we make some pretty cruel ones. Speaking of which, the theme song that runs at the end of my show, Love is Everything, written by Selwa, who is an amazing artist, and I forever in her debt for crafting a beautiful thought and a beautiful emotion regarding my program, my show, who I am, how I live. I love it. I do. It's there, and it's the original. But, however, my friend Ted is taking the foundation of that song, the lyrics and the chords, and I do not understand music the way that I would love to, because my path didn't go that way, but Ted is re-recording it. He has changed the lyrics a little bit to make it a little more current as to who I am. He has changed the chords or the thing that you have to do to make the song in your own range, and he is adding instruments and the magic that Ted makes. And he's taking. I want him to take his time with it, and he's taking his time with it. And from the rough cuts that I've heard so far, incredibly beautiful. And I want just to shout out to Ted for taking that task on, and bringing in other musicians to do different parts, and to really stepping it up and making it modern. Ted knows me probably better than any other human on earth, and that's a fact. We have been through hell together. We have been through hellitage together. I'm sure he'll get that joke, and probably no one else will. We walked along the same path for a while, and he went off seeking his own journey, and I went off seeking my own journey, but he's been there for me, and I hope that I have been there for him when he needed me as well. We certainly got each other through some very rough patches in our lives, and I count him as a massive blessing in my journey. Would not be here without him, and that's a fact. So he is redoing that song sometime in the murky future. It is going to come out, and I will feature it here, probably here first, and I cannot wait. I look forward to that. So thank you, Ted. Thank you for being there once again. So this weekend, I do a seance program, which is a thinly disguised magic show. It is laced with the history of the Stanley Hotel where it takes place. It talks about a lot of the celebrities and people that stayed there, everyone from Margaret Brown to Anna Eva Faye to Houdini, and they are all part of the story. But I also make my mother part of the story, and I make my children part of the story. My dad, every once in a while, shows up. And so we are haunted by the stories and by the people that make it the kind of show that I want it to be. And it's called 13, a theatrical seance presentation. And it is done in the style that a seance would have been conducted around 1915. And it's good. It's a lot of fun. And I'm still polishing it and attempting to make it better, attempting to make it more mine and even more of the Stanley. We are partnered on that. So there is a portion of this show, of the seance, if you will, where I open the floor up for questions. Does anyone have a question they might like answered? Well, Saturday night at the 11 o'clock program, the last 2 tickets sold was a couple that came in, and he was very exuberant, very motivational speaker type exuberant, very alpha male person in the room, which is cool. I built my whole career working on the streets and working in bars and restaurants, and I know how to accommodate the alpha male or the subtly drunk or the extremely drunk. There's different ways you handle them, and so that they don't lose their entertainment, so they don't lose the excitement and the entertainment that they get from the show, but also so that they don't ruin the time for everyone else in the room. So this guy was very exuberant, and we did a piece that I call psychometry, where I tell him something about his past. And he got very quiet, and it came around time to, for the opportunity to ask questions. And his question to me was, why am I still alive? I have had 4 or 5 strokes. I have tried to kill myself several times, at least 3 times, and it just doesn't work. And there are times I just don't want to be here, and I have tried to take myself out. So I want to know, you tell me, why am I still living? And it wasn't a question I expected to get in the middle of a magic show. But because my show is emotional, and because my show is set up so that it tugs at heartstrings and it shows you some of the beauty of being alive, those things are going to happen. And people come into the room with their own baggage and their own emotional state, and that is the nature of it. And I embrace that. It's what I want to happen. I want to give, I know it sounds odd, and I may have mentioned it here before, but I want to give a seance show that is both interesting, emotional, funny, and at the same time, at the end, I want it to be uplifting. I want it to give people inspiration as to how beautiful life is right now. So I took a moment and I told him that life, the reason you are here is clearly because it is not your time to go. Clearly there's something left for you to do. There are experiences that you have not yet had. There are people that are relying on you for their own inspiration, for their own journey. There are people that love you and are not ready to let you go. And you have a purpose and a responsibility to those people and to yourself. That life has something else to offer you, and it's not yet time for you to let that go. And that was the best answer I could come up with. I mean, given another day or two, or given time to research or to sit down and talk with him, maybe I might have come up with something better, but I spoke from the heart, which is what I do, and it comforted him. I gave him the card of a therapist that I know. I recommended that he seek the help of someone who's better equipped to answer such questions than I am. And he asked for an autograph on a poster, and he seemed okay. Sunday night, I had a woman in the moment ask if she should continue to follow what she wanted. And big flags popped up in my head, like, if what you want is I don't know what you want, and I certainly don't want to give the wrong answer to this question either, because I don't know what you want. I don't want to give you bad advice on such things. And so I kind of playfully went back and forth with her for a moment or two, and she finally blurted out, "What I want to do is divorce my abusive husband." And I said, what I can tell you, outside of the character that I am playing, is that you should seek help. You should seek counsel. You should speak to someone who professionally knows about such things. And she's like, well, I've made an appointment with one. And I said, good, then you are on the right path. If you know that there are things you don't know, and you need to seek advice from someone, outside the situation, someone professional who can deal with it, then you are on the right path. And yes, you should continue with that. Seek the help. And another lady across the room said, that is the best advice you could have given. It turns out she was a therapist and had a partner who was a marriage counselor. So the hand of the Lord is upon me. I have been given the ability to communicate. I have been given a quick wit, I guess. That's one of the things I'm really proud of. And I have been given the opportunity, and I've had the obstacles and the people put into my path that need whatever it is that I have to offer. And last week I was down, and last week I did not believe in myself, and last week I was feeling like a fraud, and who better to feel like a fraud than someone who actually pretends for a living, So, in the words of a magician friend of mine named Jeff, who told me this, I don't know, a few years ago, before COVID, right before COVID, I think. So let's say 2019. He said, there's something I want you to understand. And I want you to write this down so you don't forget it in your low times. Life is hard. Life is brutal. Life is unfair. Life is ugly. Life will take your breath. Life will stop your heart. Life will hit you when you are down. But despite all of those things, life is good. At its basis, life is a gift. Life is God stretching his hand out and saying, you are more than just the dust I created you from. You are loved. You are capable of love. You are made of love. Here is a journey. Here is a path for you to take. And it's the truth. So that's what I have this week. And outside here in the crown of the world, in my little honeycomb at the top of the world, the sky is slate gray. The sun is still reportedly up. It is 40 degrees outside, and it is raining and hailing. But I can look out my window and honestly say, I am stunned by the beauty that I see out of my window. And just as I said that, I turn around, and there is a herd of elk galloping into the field behind my house. I have a show to go to. I am getting ready to head over to the hotel, set up my room for the week, get everything in its place, get all the props in its place, get into my character, and give a good show. Because what I was created for, what I was made for, was to give a good show, to put the message that I have in my heart out there, and hope that it serves someone. Maybe it's one person. Maybe it's the entire room. Maybe what I've got to say, I need to hear. But there's a connection that happens when I stand on my stage, when I stand across my table. And if I allow myself to be vulnerable, if I allow myself to put the emotions out there and connect with the people that have come into my room, then what happens is purely magic, and it is not something that I am doing for them. It is something that we build together, and that is the heart of art. And I'm proud to do what I do. Thank you for being a friend. Thank you for listening in. Thank you for being a part of this journey. I may not have ever met you. You may have, I don't know. I honestly, I know a few people that listen. Reportedly, I think I have around 72 to 80 people that listen on any given week. But I couldn't point to them and say where they are, or who they are, or why they listen. But thank you for being one of them. You're awesome. Don't ever let anyone tell you that your ability is low or useless or frivolous. Because I've been around the world with a handful of paper. I've been around the world with a deck of cards in my hand, and I have seen the beauty of creation. I've seen its cruel side, but I've certainly seen its beautiful side too. Yeah. Hope you're having a great week, and I hope there's love where you are.
I may not know exactly where this road is taking me, but I know that I'm exactly right where I'm supposed to be. The journey is long, full of joy and pain, but as long as you're smiling, I'll stand in the rain. I've got nothing left to give other than love. But the funny thing about that is, love is everything. I hope there is love where you are. I hope there is love where you are. I may be a liar full of tricks, but if you'd open up your eyes, you would see nothing but the truth behind all of my lies. I broke every rule, and I bore every boulder, and I carried the weight of the world on my shoulders, and I've got nothing left to give other than love. But the funny thing about that is, love is everything. I hope there is love where you are. I hope there is love where you are. I hope nothing but illusion. Anyone can wave a wand and make all their heartache disappear and call it art. But without heart, you've got nothing but illusion. I hope there is love